It's time to pull up a stool and grab your spot at the bar. The stadiums are dark, the scoreboards are off, and the final whistle has long since blown. But in here, the lights stay on. Welcome to the ETB Lounge on the Empty the Bench Network. This is your official post-game nightcap, where we break down the biggest hits, pour one out for the heartbreaks, and dive into the stories that linger long after the clock hits zero. Whether you're here for sharp analysis or one last round of sports talk with the best fans in the game, you've come to the right place. The games are over, and the conversation is just getting started. Pull up a stool, gang, and grab your spot at the bar. The stadiums are going dark, the scoreboards are off, and the final whistle has long since blown. But the lights are on. Welcome, my friends, inside the ETB Lounge, fully stocked with absolute chaos. The global crown has officially been settled as Spain outmuscled Argentina to capture the 2026 World Cup trophy for the second time in nation history. But as soccer finds their closure, the NBA is stuck right now in admin traffic, with the league apparently delaying the release of the upcoming season schedule, all because of the fluid future of one LeBron James, who even saying the words "trust the process" might indicate he's heading to David Waitman's neck of the woods in Philadelphia. Over in England, Bryson DeChambeau lost his cool at the Open, unraveling into a full-blown two-stroke penalty tantrum that completely vaporized the weekend, while the NFL is now caught in the gambling hot water crossfires involving the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe in better news for the NHL, the Chicago Blackhawks re-ink locked down Connor Bedard to a new contract extension, and now a labor storm is brewing on social media amongst the NFL players as active players now take to social media in a synchronized push demanding billionaire owners ditch artificial turf for natural grass under the hashtag banner of worth the cost. Over the course of the next 2 hours, folks, alongside Nick DiMartino, David Waitman, Zan Bando, Ben Cruz, and Connor Rowland, we are here inside the ETB Lounge all the way till 8 o'clock Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern. Nick D, great to see you as always, my man. How are we doing today? Good to see you.
All right. How are you?
Doing better. Thankfully, the weather has not been too bad, and more importantly, the air conditioner got fixed over the last 2 days.
And the smoke's been getting a little better in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Another reason to hate Canada.
Yeah. It's a war zone back there. Mr. Zan Bando, of course, joining us as well. Zan, how we doing tonight, my man? Good to see you as always. How we doing?
I'm good. I'm much better than what the air quality was around my area a couple days ago, but we're hanging in there. It's only going to get hotter from here, and good to be back on. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on. Thanks for having me, as always.
As always, Zan. David Waitman joining us from Philadelphia. David, great to see you as always, my man. I think you're on mute right now still, but David, great to see you as always. How's it going tonight, my man, with so much baseball and finally a World Cup final coming to a conclusion?
Yes. No more goals, no more ranch dressing, no more rowing, and we're on to now the other football, American version. So
the other version, exactly. Ben Cruz joining us as well. Obviously, Ben, I don't know if the Scotties have paid you back for all the beer that they drank during the World Cup, but great to see you, my man. How's it going tonight? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, feeling great. Sox are hot. Best team in the league right now. Gotta love it.
And of course, our betting guru, Connor Rowland, also joining us. Connor, I kind of missed like all of the questions about gambling on the World Cup, man, because I think you had a blast watching the tournament just for the sake of the wagering side. But Connor, welcome back aboard, my man. How's it going tonight?
It's been great. You know, I would say what you will. That was a somewhat exciting World Cup finish. It was a very defensive one. So it was great to see that end. First World Cup I've ever actually watched. Great time.
Mm-hmm.
Great time was had by all, again, folks, across the next 2 hours. Again, we'll take your input on YouTube and on Twitter over the course of our show. On the tab tonight, again, we'll recap today's World Cup final match from New York, New Jersey. We'll talk all things LeBron James regarding the NBA schedule. Even the thoughts of even just saying trust the process means that he's going to be going to the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll also talk about Bryson DeChambeau's meltdown at the Open over the course of the weekend. We'll also look a bit further into this Arizona Cardinals gambling probe right now going on, while we'll also talk a little bit as well about the Connor Bedard extension signed by the Chicago Blackhawks, despite him having a shoulder injury and being out for the next few months, though, and also more about what has gone on with the NFL players. Furthermore, lamb-blasting billionaire ownership to put in grass in wake of the success of the FIFA World Cup at the NFL Stadium. So all that and more up until the top of the 8 o'clock hour on the West Coast and the 11 o'clock hour on the East Coast here today. With that, though, gents, let's kind of get into the nitty-gritty. But first, before we do that, let's remind everybody, again, that you can find us on social media over on Twitter, IG, and TikTok for the network account over at ETB Network. More importantly, find us on social media at the ETB Lounge on Twitter and Instagram. And also, more importantly, as we have racked up a boatload of watch hours over the last week, again, go to youtube.com/ETB Network. Go like and subscribe. Get that done, and that will help us get a bit closer to our goals of 3,000 and eventually the 4,000 watch hour goal for monetization. We're getting close. Again, we literally have, I think, racked up 24 watch hours over the last 2 days. So again, the more that you watch, the more that you interact, the more that you like and subscribe, the more that we can get ourselves closer to those ultimate goals. All right, guys, we'll get to a full recap now of the World Cup. Not like I have not been sitting here in the studio since 11 o'clock my time this morning to preview the match, watch the match, talk the match, before it was all said and done, though. But once more, though, if you're just joining us, folks, Spain defeats Argentina in a very much defensive struggle from New York, New Jersey Stadium. 1-0 the final score. For Ferran Torres scores the game-winning goal at 1:06 of stoppage time, led though as well by a red card for Argentina in the third minute of stoppage, or in the third minute of stoppage time. Past 90 minutes, though, but more importantly, Spain again controlled this game all the way through, and also Lionel Messi almost MIA for the entire game for Argentina, including the fact, though, as well, though, gentlemen, not a single shot was taken by Argentina until the last 2 minutes of the World Cup final here today. Connor, from a betting standpoint, I want to go to you first, though, because I was a little bit shocked when I was previewing the game beforehand today, early this morning, that the win probability for Spain was at 41%. There was a 31% chance of the match going to extra time, and then only a 24% chance for Argentina. And I basically was, Pete and repeat all day across ETB that this game comes down to who scores first, because Spain, as I mentioned in the recap show, they have lowered the bar for goals allowed in an entire World Cup stretch, though, where they only allowed 1 goal this time. On the way to a victory, they allowed 2 when they last won the World Cup in 2010. So really about how scoring first, playing defense worked out, though. But maybe, Connor, from a bettor's perspective, though, of this World Cup final with these two, again, very evenly matched teams, though. Again, old guard with Messi, new guard with Yamal. Your thoughts on watching this game, though, and how it went, but maybe from the bettor's perspective, your thoughts.
Well, first and foremost, I didn't think it was going to be a high-scoring game. I thought it was going to be low scoring, and what really told me that was watching Argentina play against the Verde game. That one, with how poor their offensive played. Admittedly, the goalie had an amazing game, but watching them struggle.
By the way, that was a new record for saves in one game for Emiliano Martinez. He made 10 saves. It's a new record for a final.
It is a pretty incredible statistic. I will say that, but the fact that they were able to keep Verde was able to keep them at such a close game, it made me think that with Spain, they were going to really struggle. And so I had taken Spain to win, and I was not shocked. I was more so shocked about the red card. Well, by the time stoppage time hit, I thought it was going to go to penalties. I swear to God.
I kind of thought so too for a bit, but obviously when you have 10 men, you've got the open space on the field, and I was a bit more surprised, I think, though, as well, fellas, that Argentina actually finally put on a offensive attack, though, but so late in the game. And the other big point I made, though, and Ben, I'll go to you on this one. The other big point I mentioned, though, was Argentina kept finding ways to pull a rabbit out of the hat these last, I'd say, 4 to 5 matches. Like, they're behind 2-0 to Egypt. They win that game. They fall behind 1-0 to England. They win that game with 2 goals in quick succession. But my main thought was, you can only, in a way, get bailed out or get lucky so many times over before your luck runs out. Today, their luck ran out playing with 10 men. The goal, though, by Torres. Second sub to score a goal in a World Cup final since 2014 when Germany did it. Ben, thoughts on the World Cup final, but more importantly, more about Spain winning this or Argentina self-inflicting themselves by losing it with their offensive attack today?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think, Spain obviously earned it. defensively. I mean, the fact that they weren't giving up a lot of goals in the tournament, I just kind of shows, like a lot of teams that typically win championships, they will obviously win by defense, come up with big plays, and like you mentioned, Callan, Argentina, obviously Messi is Messi. They obviously, I think, kind of the guys around him, they have some guys that can play, but the last couple of games, they were able to pull things out, but they really kind of didn't turn things up until the end of the games. And I think that, when you're in a position like that, I think more times than not, especially when you're playing a team like Spain, who is a very good defensive type of team, like you mentioned, Callan, whoever kind of broke the bank in terms of getting that first goal, I think really was going to be the pivotal to it. And they were able to pull it out, right at the end of time too, I think, which made it even more an advantage for Spain, because Argentina was down a man, and they seemed to like that they had the advantage once they got that goal, because they kind of wanted to play on their own terms, and they were able to get that done. So I think it was a little more on Spain kind of having their own game plan and find a way to execute at the end. But yeah, I mean, Argentina, obviously, the fact that they didn't have a lot of shots until the end of the game kind of shows that, one, Spain's good at defensively, but two, they obviously did not have a good game plan also.
Yeah, David, this game was very much what I kind of thought it would be for a bit, like a feel-out process, the first, 30 minutes, maybe 15, 30 minutes, though. And then eventually something would overcome the game where it become, like any other match, though, across the board. Again, Yamal versus Messi. But again, though, David, I was more, I think, floored a little bit about how Argentina just kind of like sat back, and didn't generate any kind of offensive threat until minute 118. Like nothing in the first 90 minutes whatsoever. I think there was a stat I read, though, on the post-match show that this is like the first time, I think, for an Argentinian son that they did not get a shot in the 90 minutes of regular gameplay, and then it spills over to the red card in minute 93. It goes to, chances galore for Spain. They finally, get one, but then it's rolled offside. Then you have the go-ahead goal by Torres. Then he has a second goal get wiped off because he was, roughly, I'd say, a good half foot offside, though, with his, the arm and the body being just, being behind that last defender. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Argentina is like, oh, we're down one. Oh, we need to actually do something here. And they were close a couple of times with a couple of late corner kicks, though, that were blocked by the Spanish defense or over the bar. And that was, again, a big thing I said, though, is that if Spain scores, good luck, because they're on lockdown defense. But David, takeaways, though, from this match are what for you?
Argentina playing sloppy. That it seemed like is a big thing in terms of just how they offensively, whatever else. I wonder, and that was never really said, I wonder if Argentina was just gassed physically. Meaning, like, they had the semifinal, they had to come from behind to win, and just all the other stuff that comes about it. The only thing I was glad that Spain won in terms of, like, the extra time. I felt like if it went to penalty kicks, Argentina would win. I felt like Messi and those guys would have found a way. They were finding ways to win throughout. So, it was a good game. I didn't see the first half. I thankfully didn't see halftime.
I turned it off too, believe me.
Wayne Rooney said it best about that. But yeah, the second half was really good. Extra time was really good. Argentina did have like one or two chances in, like the one guy had a shot that went high, and yeah, so it was good. And then of course they were doing all the what people were calling the thuggery, which was cheap shots at the end. Then of course after the game was over, the one guy fought two of the Spaniards. So, yeah, that's how Argentina plays. And I think they were showing down Buenos Aires. They weren't upset because after the game was over, they were still shooting off fireworks like they won the World Cup.
Nothing like Madrid getting absolutely, laced at 12:40 in the morning back there on a work day. Christy made the joke during the recap show that everyone's going to be at work tomorrow, either extremely happy or extremely hungover. I say probably hungover with where things currently stand. I even mentioned I have a friend who's going to work, traveled for work to Barcelona, and he's going to the consulate tomorrow. And he said they're going to be happy. I said, nah, they're going to be hungover when that happens. Zan, I think, though, Dave made a good point, though, is that you wonder, though, and I never actually thought of this, but you also wonder how much did fatigue play in, though, in some weird way for where the match went, though, involving that Spain. I even may have said this, this morning, that maybe the younger legs of Spain, with Yamal being 19 and some of the older age veterans like Lionel Messi playing for Argentina, would that, get them over the hump, and obviously did with them having a sub score that goal with Torres doing so. But Zan, how about your thoughts on the overall vibe of the World Cup? And Spain wins it for the first time since 2010 when they were last in South Africa.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously felt big. There were thousands of people, obviously, in the stadium. Over 1 billion people saw it. The ending couldn't have been more poetic from a Spain standpoint. And you could be a soccer fan, you could not be a soccer fan. I think sitting here on this panel right now, I think we can all agree, regardless of if you watched every single literal minute of this summer's World Cup, or if you just watched this match, I think it lived up to the hype and more. And I think for a lot of other people, for one reason or another, they're just happy to see Argentina lose. So those were my overall thoughts on it.
I'm sure there was a lot of hate watching on both sides. Probably more hate watching for the Ronaldo fans, seeing Messi back in a World Cup final, perhaps, for all that I know. But I think, though, Nick D, I think you might agree with me on this stance, though, again. That I think we see a lot of times, though, in sports that you have that there's one team that kind of finds a way to pull one out, like every game day with like a walk-off base hit or a game-winning field goal, and that you can only, I think, have that sort of thing happen so many times over before your luck does run out, though. And I feel that way about Argentina, pulling out the Egypt match, being down 2-0, pulling out the England match when England chose to defend for 35 plus minutes after they went ahead 1-0. That you can only have these miracle comeback wins happen, only a few times over, but you can't always that you can't bail yourself out of trouble every time, though. But I guess, Nick, maybe your thoughts from this game today from New York, New Jersey.
Well, yes, I would. If I were to compare Argentina to an NFL team, I would say they were like the Bears. Like they were I would say the Bears last year were the best team at pulling out wins, but they weren't the best team. Like just being the best at pulling off wins is not the same thing as being the best team. And eventually that kind of catches up to you. And like David said, I do think that winning those types of games, those grinds, I think that it's a lot for teams. Like it's a lot on them physically, that it takes a lot out of them, which would explain why they lost. But also Spain was just better. I mean, Argentina seems like they were a really good defensive team. I would almost say they were like Iowa football, if I were to put it in soccer terms. Like they're just a really big defensive team, and you can't win games 0-0. But also, this game, even though it was 1-0, was very lopsided. Like, yeah, it was 1-0. There were also goals called off for Spain. One of them for a very questionable foul call against Spain, which I kind of thought was bullshit. I could be wrong, but I kind of thought was bullshit. And an offsides penalty. So Spain probably should have won a lot more. But one thing I want to say is I want to give credit to Argentina's goalie.
Oh, my God, absolutely.
Argentina's goalie was unbelievable. He was like Henrik Lundqvist. He had an amazing game, but he lost. Like that's like what that's a typical Henrik Lundqvist game. So I just, how many shots on goal did Spain have? Like it seemed like they had so many shots on goal, and Argentina's goalie was unbelievable. He saved almost everything.
Now, almost a Tim Howard game when they lost to Belgium in 2014, when he made, I think, 13 saves in the round of 16 at that time. But again, folks, Spain does hold off Argentina 1-0 from New York, New Jersey to, in fact, capture their second World Cup in nation history. Yeah, go ahead.
The game's in New Jersey.
Yeah,
it's called the New York, New Jersey Stadium, but it's in New Jersey.
Yeah,
it's not in New York. But I mean, it's really MetLife Stadium. They had to change it for sponsorship reasons, I guess.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and that goes over to with the Olympic Games coming up in LA in 2028. That if your name or that if your company doesn't have a IOC agreement, you cannot name or keep the arena name. So the only one that was saved by that was the Honda Center in Anaheim for indoor volleyball in 2 years, because Honda's a sponsor of Team USA, and so it lines up with the World Cup or with the Olympic Committee for that. A couple of thoughts real quick, guys. Christy Wilson says, fellas, at one point I kept wondering during the game if anybody wanted to win it. And I mean, it felt that way, though, for so long, as we've been saying, though, until, Ferran Torres scores, though, coming off the bench, literally and figuratively, on our network in a way. But again, he's a substitute scoring that goal at the 106-minute mark of the of extra time. And then, of course, there was the foul call in the box, that win against Spain by like nicking the foot of the Argentinian defender, then the offside on Torres that would have been a clear breakaway, but the arm had just been extended over the offside line per the VAR technology. And of course, guys, the other big talking point, though, was the Super Bowl style halftime show. Our good man, Nick Morganson says, fellas, hate to say it, though, halftime show was a joke. Was seeing Sesame Street puppets playing instruments in auto-tune and lip syncing. Better off putting on an AI show instead. Nick D, your thoughts, though, about how the World Cup kind of broke tradition to try to, in a way, Americanize the World Cup final by having a Super Bowl style halftime show this afternoon.
How do they usually do it?
Normally, there's no halftime entertainment for the final.
Well, I think it's good that I think it was a good try, is how I'd put it. Like, I think it's good to try to make it more like the Super Bowl to appeal to more Americans because, well, the game's in the United States. So I think, those are the people you want to appeal to. So I think that's a good thing that they wanted to make it a little bit like the Super Bowl with the halftime show. I feel
they overdid it a little bit, though, because I feel like they did a great job of exposing the World Cup to Americans this go around. Like all over social media, all you saw was Japanese people getting along with Americans, or Portuguese people
cleaning up after themselves too.
Mm-hmm. And so I feel like they did a great job of Americanizing it. I feel like the halftime was just unnecessary.
Well, first of all, this was all planned out way before any of those things happened. So it's not like they decided it last night.
That's true. That's a good point.
So they had a plan to make it appeal to Americans. That's the best way to expose Americans to a sport that most of us think of as foreign in a sense. That's the best way to do it, to get Americans to warm up to it, by making it more like sports that we're more familiar with, like having a halftime show. By the way, it's not just the Super Bowl that has halftime shows. Every final has, or at least every singular game final has a halftime show. So I think it's good that they did that to appeal to more Americans. So I was totally fine with it. I don't watch games for the halftime shows, but I think that if you want more Americans to be invested in your sport, well, make it, in some ways, at least, more like American sports.
Zane, your thoughts?
Yeah, really, the only thing I can say is the World Cup did its best to have that cultural angle, but I think there's a time and place for a lot of this stuff, and I think the World Cup did do a good job of doing that. To me, it felt a little bit Super Bowl-ish, which I think is cool, but I could see why some other people don't really see the pageantry in it, especially if you're just a purist soccer fan and you only care about what's going on in the actual pitch itself. So I think it's good theater. I think it kept people engaged, and the names they had out there to perform, the names they included, in the commercials and whatnot. I think it tried to cater to multiple different fan bases, whether you're a casual soccer fan, watch the World Cup final once every 4 years, or are a religious soccer fan that hadn't missed a single Spain match in 2 years. I think every single person who decided to tune in today was delivered in entertainment value and then some. So.
Yeah, David, I think, though, and we were talking about this actually off the air, that Nick wrote in that the BBC didn't even show it. And, of course, Wayne Rooney obviously popped off about it. But, again, that was, like Nick said, though, this wasn't planned 12 hours ago. They were going to have some halftime show performances, though. But I think, though, David, I think the best comment I saw, though, David, was this. Shakira is to the World Cup like Mariah Carey is to Christmas when it comes to that everyone in a way associates Shakira every time that the World Cup rolls around during the World Cup, much like people also compare Mariah Carey to being synonymous with Christmas. But David, your thoughts on the pop and circumstance of the halftime show for the World Cup final?
Oh my God, where do you start? Let's also not forget the Tom Cruise before we have the first kickoff. He's got to give a 5-minute speech or whatever it was. I saw that thing before the game began too. It's just, I guess for me, and then like I said, I must be just different in our people. I'm just like, I'm there for the game. Let them come out, get them set, play the game. I don't need speeches. Halftime show, have the people talk. Like you say, it's like you're trying too hard. And it's a lot. It's not the only one. I mean, just the World Cup, but like, man, all these other sports, all-star games, and like we got to have these theatrics, and like, you know, we got to have like halftime shows. It's just like there's nothing wrong with 10 to 15 minutes of peace and quiet. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, okay, you have the analysts doing their thing, but like everybody goes to the bathroom, goes get a beer, just gets on their phone. Just like that's, to me, at 15-minute halftime, we're ready to play. And what Wayne Rooney said, calling it a crap halftime show, I mean, that's my type of guy. Like I said, just play the game. It's all sports. It's not just strictly soccer. It's like it's all of them. But
and I'm glad you mentioned about like halftime, like it's bathroom break time, it's beer time. That is literally me at Snapdragon Stadium for STFC or the Wave. Is that when the game gets to halftime, I'm hauling ass up the stairs to go grab another Modelo, and then I'm going to the bathroom and I'm coming right back for the game. So I concur on that 100%.
Well, here's the thing though. You have to understand these major events aren't targeted at like entirely. When you talk about the halftime show, it's not exactly targeted at people like us who are watching to watch the game. It's more targeted at people like us who have like wives or girlfriends and things like that watch with us, like people who aren't really sports fans or friends or something like that are kind of just tagging along, which there's a lot of at the World Cup, just like there is at the Super Bowl. It's one of those things where a typical game targets the typical fan, but events like the World Cup or the Super Bowl or World Cup final, I should say, it's not just targeting your diehard sports fan that's just there to watch the game. That's the reason they do it. And the truth is, it works. It makes them a lot of money, these halftime shows. Like most people, like it, financially speaking, it definitely works for them. It is a big money. It is a big money maker, these halftime shows. So it's not really targeted at us per se. Like, I don't care about the halftime show. I'll go up and get up and go to the bathroom, whatever, and relax. But, if that's how they want to do it, I understand it.
Yeah, like just for guys like Callan and Ben and the other ones who did who've done the soccer throughout this thing, I don't think after 104 games they were like, man, I can't wait for the Muppets at halftime. like
that was not on the bingo card. When
where did they come from? Like the Muppets and FIFA. I'm like, I'd say like Madonna, and I was just like, I think I said that's where I was just like, I gotta go get dinner.
That's fair. It's fair to criticize the actual halftime show itself.
Yeah.
But I feel that way. I feel all halftime shows feel like they look like fever dreams, all the halftime shows.
Yes.
They all are a little odd, and they're getting even more and more odd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before I get
at least unlike the Super Bowl, there was one halftime show this time.
Yeah. Nick Morrison writes in first that Shakira's hips equal eyeballs. I mean, that's a pretty good reference. At least it's what World Cup thought. Christy also said that Shakira could have done this whole thing by herself. And I think, though, to Nick D's point, though, halftime shows are more for TV eyeballs, not mainly for fans inside the stadium. TV is all about retention time and keeping people watching longer for ratings.
That's a fair point. I mean, it's an attention economy. So, and with more people watching, you have more commercials. I get it from an economic standpoint. It's just to David's point. This is my first go around watching the World Cup, but I would have appreciated a little bit more purity of the game. Like the 15 minutes just for me to get up and take my food out the oven, grab the beer, like everyone says.
Beer.
And Connor, you never watched the World Cup until this year because why?
Well, soccer was never really on my radar for the most part because I get into sports when I have friends who like a sport because it's much more enjoyable to watch a sport like with a friend, obviously, especially if they know the sport and can explain things as they go. And so I got into soccer this year because of obviously you guys, and I had one more friend that moved up here that was heavily into soccer as well.
I hope Trevor and I did you a good service over the course of a tournament. We tried.
You absolutely did. I am forever a soccer fan now. Now I have the problem of figuring out, all right, what team do I want to back?
Well, I mean, you got – go ahead, David.
I was just going to – no, I was going to say, go over your thoughts, and I'll come up with mine.
I was going to say, Connor, depending on where you live, you've got either New York City FC, who plays at Yankee Stadium, or you've got the Red Bulls, who play in New Jersey at Sports Illustrated Stadium, or you've got the Revolution in Ben's neck of the woods in Boston.
I don't think I'm going to go with my native area. I think I actually am going to rep the Verde team. I mean, they ruined so many.
For international. Yeah. I thought you were talking about domestically. Shakira and J-Lo did the Super Bowl halftime show one year. You really think they cared about people in the stadium? It was more to keep your eyes to the screen.
I remember that one.
I think one of my personal favorites, probably because it was in L.A., was when they brought out Mary J. Blige, Dre, and Snoop Dogg and Eminem at SoFi a couple years ago.
Yes, that was one of the best ones. That was one of the best ones.
I don't know, David. Who do you think still has the best halftime show ever, Prince or Michael Jackson?
There were some good ones with the Super Bowl. Like U2 was really good. Prince was really good.
I think it has to go to MJ though.
Yeah. That was you could put that up there.
I think that was the Rose Bowl when he jumped onto the top of the scoreboard, I think, to start the show, I want to say.
Yeah, that was that one. Exactly.
I think that was in the 90s.
What year was that Michael Jackson halftime show?
I feel like it was one of the Buffalo Bills losing to Dallas, I think, at the Rose Bowl, like maybe 93 or 93.
Yeah, I wasn't alive for that. But
Ben, any thoughts on the halftime show for the World Cup final today?
I didn't watch it. I was working, so
you won.
Yeah, I saw I guess like videos and stuff, but I didn't fully watch it. So after hearing you guys, I'm kind of glad I did it.
Christy said MJ better for the best halftime show.
I just do think that this opens up everything when it comes to halftime shows.
I think so.
Yeah,
I agree.
Look, the best halftime show I've ever seen was the one from 4 years ago with 50 Cent hanging upside down at SoFi Stadium. I thought that was, and he wasn't even supposed to be on there. He was a surprise.
He was like a surprise cameo. Yeah,
that cast, that I think was the best halftime show I've ever seen. It might not be a popular opinion, but I really
believe it or not, I might actually go with the Chili Peppers and Bruno Mars at MetLife in 2013 when I think Seattle played Denver. I think that one was pretty good.
That was a good one. I don't think it was as good as the 2022.
Yeah, I was just that one. We got Prince, you got MJ. I think the Rolling Stones, I think, played the halftime show one year. U2 played it one year as well. So,
and which year? Kendrick Lamar did it one year.
Kendrick did it, I think, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It was the Eagles Chiefs game. That one wasn't good.
I disagree. I thought the Kendrick Lamar one was really good.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Kendrick Lamar is that good of a singular performer. Like he's good for a halftime show if he's with a group of people, like in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he sounds very good live at all.
Connor, if I may ask, Connor, do you think though that Kendrick Lamar though maybe had popularity for that halftime show because it was at the pinnacle of that lawsuit he had against Drake and the record label?
Sure. Yeah. When he started teasing the song on the speakers, absolutely. I acknowledge that plays a factor in it, but like Kendrick Lamar is a great writer, a great musician. He may not be the best live, but I still think like, you know, especially considering that in these Super Bowl shows, they compress the songs. They'll just like sing a portion of one song and then go on to the next one. And so a band could have really great songs, but if they don't get to play all of them, or a rapper, if they don't get to do the song to completion, it's not going to be as good. I thought the Kendrick Lamar one was good. I also feel like Super Bowls nowadays have a tendency to just throw a ton of people on the screen all dancing rather than the music.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, D-Mart is never going to forgive Polymarket and Kalshi for the Cardi B bet he made for Bad Bunny last year in Santa Clara.
What? That's why I'm not using those prediction markets anymore. I am so done with them. It was stupid anyway. But I'm done with those apps. I'm done with it.
Yeah, you're staying true to what you know exactly. And by the way, just looking up so last year it was Bad Bunny with Lady Gaga and Ricky Martin at last year's Super Bowl in Santa Clara. Year beforehand, it was Kendrick Lamar with SZA and Samuel L. Jackson. That was a little weird. And then the year before that in Vegas, it was Usher with Alicia Keys and others that played at the Raiders' new stadium. And then one more before we move on here. When the Eagles beat Philadelphia 38, 35, and 23, that was Rihanna by herself.
That one was a good one.
She was pregnant.
That one was a good one.
That was when she was pregnant, and nobody knew she was pregnant. And she comes waddling out, and people are like, "I think Rihanna's pregnant."
Yeah, I mean, quite a way though to make the announcement, and then of course I think the other loony one that we had was the Super Bowl coming out of the pandemic when The Weeknd performed in Tampa, Florida.
I remember I was watching that one in Atlantic City.
Because he had that weird entrance where he like walked through that maze of mirrors to get to the field.
That was a really
I do remember that one. Yeah, that really jogged my memory.
That was a really bad Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That was the 31-9 Super Bowl that the Bucs won pretty handily over Kansas City.
Oh my god.
And then who can forget? Yes, who can forget Katy Perry and Left Shark? I think that was in Houston. Houston, I think.
I think that sounds right. If it was the 2017 one,
yeah,
I think that sounds right.
The 2017 one was in Houston.
Yeah.
2018 was in Minnesota. I remember that.
That was when Timberlake did the Prince tribute at US Bank Stadium because that was after Prince
right.
passed away.
Yeah, and the Eagles beat New England. Yep.
Thank you, Sam.
Philly
Appreciate
special.
that.
Sorry, Philly special. It's on the menu.
Isn't that the most American thing, by the way, that we went from talking about the World Cup and it somehow migrated to talking about the Super Bowl?
And mainly because the World Cup final has never had a halftime show until this year. So it's like, that kind of triggers the gets the cranium rolling and turning.
By the way, did you guys see that video of those Argentinian fans trying to cross Route 3?
Did the Scotties do that though? Like their first match though?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, they're not with so many of these foreign fans. They think everything is just walkable.
Especially those who are Scottish. Yes,
especially Europeans. Europeans are uniquely bad with that. Like they thought a bunch of people thought that they could walk from like Manhattan to MetLife,
and I think one of them actually did it. I think the first day of the tournament.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, like Europe has like vastly better pedestrian city layouts and like public transportation. So I do understand why they do come here thinking like, oh, yeah, we could just get there.
But if you think about it, we should be able, like it should be walkable. Like why is nothing walkable in this area? Like if you think about it, there should at least be something that's walkable. Like there's no walkway from New York to New Jersey. I mean, there is. You look at the GW Bridge, but like you think there'd be something else somewhere.
Put those tax hours to work back there, New York and New Jersey, and figure it out, right?
Yeah, like you'd think there would be something. I mean, look, we have like infrastructure from the '60s. We haven't updated because look, the lower level in the GW Bridge was built, I think, in 1962.
Sheesh.
And nothing has changed since then. And the population in the area is what I'm guessing doubled since then, and we have the same exact number of bridges and tunnels. Like, you think there'd be something.
I mean, that sounds like back when here with how old the sports arena is, which is like literally 10 minutes down the street from where I live, where I work for the Gulls every hockey season. I mean, that place opened up in '66 and it's been barely touched. Like they've added some new amenities, but it still has that old arena feel to it though, with the acoustics and the seating area. So
like you can walk from New York and back and forth from New York and New Jersey on the GW Bridge, but like that's not putting you in the heart of like Midtown Manhattan or anything.
Right.
Like you're all the way uptown. There's not that much up there. Like that's not where all the sites are. Like if you want to go to Madison Square Garden, that's not going to be good. You think there'd be something that maybe leads you to Midtown or something near there, but there's
really
nothing.
just like Central Park. And like,
right. Like all the way uptown, it's not the best location for somebody who's walking.
Yeah, and the Scotties proved that point. And I did see that video, by the way, Nick. It was like 5 Argentina fans are crossing the
Argentinians. They're like they don't see that this is a highway. Do they not have highways in Argentina? It's a developed country. It's not a third world country. Like you think they'd see the highways. You know what that looks like? That looks like to me that there was that one member of that group was so insistent on them walking, and everybody was like, all right, I guess we'll walk.
All right, we'll do it. Just so you'll shut up for the rest of the day until we get to the stadium and we start getting drink. Exactly. All right, guys, we'll get to the NBA real quick. And obviously, though, this has been a bit of a small fiasco, really, a little bit over the past couple of days. But, guys, there's new reports putting out that have been put out, though, that the NBA has officially put a hold on releasing the upcoming schedule as front office leaks indicate that the league is scrambling to adjust high-profile prime TV time slots based on the fluid late stages future plans of LeBron James. Adding more fuel to the fire, LeBron caused an absolute scene, though, at Fanatics Fest this weekend by dropping the phrase, trust the process, while asking about his future. The comment seemed to trigger immediate roars of approval from those that are Sixers fans about him potentially playing alongside Joel Embiid and also the newly picked up Jaylen Brown when it comes to the Sixers at this time. So, Nick DiMartino, your thoughts on this, that the NBA is actually going to hold out, or is potentially, per sources, holding back the schedule release based on where LeBron heads for the upcoming season?
I mean, if that's true, that makes perfect sense because LeBron changes the balance of the league so much. You're going to have to. I mean, how can you not? LeBron being on a team, whether or not LeBron is on a particular team, changes whether or not it should be a primetime game or not in a lot of circumstances. Like Warriors, Sixers, for instance, if they play each other.
Right.
If LeBron goes to the Sixers, for instance, or somewhere else, that's not a primetime game in all likelihood. If LeBron goes to the Warriors, Sixers, Warriors, that's a primetime game. Just for example.
Yeah.
So wherever LeBron goes, he changes the dynamic of whatever. He's going to change the dynamic of whatever team he goes to such a large extent, just from a basketball perspective, but also from a marketing or a business perspective. The storyline is vastly different, and that matters a lot too when it comes to scheduling. The NFL does that too. I mean, look how many primetime games the Jets had when Aaron Rodgers in 2023 when Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be the quarterback. So obviously the NBA has to hold out on scheduling until LeBron makes his decision. Like, of course, like how can they not? That's not surprising to me at all. The only thing surprising might be that like they're openly saying it, but yeah, obviously.
Yeah, Zan, I think it's a little. I don't know if we've seen this that I can remember at least about seeing a league not hold this, holding up a schedule release based on one player, where they perhaps will go for their, future. Again, we've heard Philly, we've heard Golden State, even that maybe that small chance of like the honeymoon phase of him heading back to Cleveland, maybe for a third go around with the Cavaliers. But Zan, your thoughts though about, if these front office insiders, have a scoop here, thoughts about the NBA holding up the schedule release depending on where LeBron does go for the upcoming season?
It's entirely unsurprising. I mean, the NBA knows that regardless of LeBron being in his 40s, they know that he is a revenue driver of sorts for the league. So what's the point of announcing the schedule if you don't know where your biggest star is going to go? People need something to be excited about. This is a strategic business play if I've ever seen one. And I know it may sound favorable, and I'm not trying to favor LeBron in any way. I just think they're looking at their bottom line and they're saying, hey, look, if we release the schedule before we know where he's going, then the fans are going to be scrambling to be like, okay, regardless of who he plays for, I need to figure out which franchise opposing or whoever he decides to play for, what tickets do I need to get? So holding out all this anticipation, I think makes his decision that much more intriguing. So I actually think it's more of a positive than a negative. I don't know how the rest of you guys feel, but I don't really see too many issues with it really at all. So
I agree.
Yeah, so there's one small note I want to bring up here because Nick Morganson said, release the schedule, call it a day. But there is a rule, though, in the CBA that only 34 national games are allowed for all 30 clubs. And then that's the max that you can go, though, for national TV.
You mean for each team?
I believe that is correct with where things stand right now. So, David, obviously, it still is a lot. Exactly.
That's a lot of nationally televised games. I mean, that's almost half, a little less than half of what each team is going to be of total games in the season. So that's a lot of games. Wemby and SGA are much more valuable than LeBron right now. No, they're not. I don't think so. I mean, but that's not even really the point. Obviously they're better players than LeBron right now, and they're more valuable to each team right now. But the storyline, but first of all, it has nothing to that has nothing to do with anything, because where LeBron goes, just from an entertainment standpoint, has such a huge impact on the storyline. So Wemby and SGA have nothing to do with that. Sure, Wemby and SGA are more valuable to their respective teams than LeBron is. That's not debatable. But LeBron, where LeBron goes for what might be the final year of his 23-year career is way more valuable for just from a business standpoint than Wemby and SGA are right now. I mean, SGA, one of the biggest issues with SGA that we keep hearing about is that people really don't like watching him, that like he foul grifts too much and, he has a weird personality.
Yeah, you're kind of right on that one.
So where LeBron, redundant because just because it's redundant doesn't mean people don't care about it. I mean,
also
reality TV is super popular in America, and people like that type of thing. People like drama. It's just a reality.
And it's also a legacy thing. We know we don't have that much ride left for LeBron. So like as he gets to the sundown of his career, so to speak, people are going to want to see it more because he's going to be less available.
Yeah, well, I don't even know if his legacy really is going to take much of a hit or that much at all. Or like, it's not. I don't think it's going to matter that much. But because LeBron defenders are going to say one thing, LeBron haters are going to say the other thing. They're going to spin it in their own direction. But it still is a big deal. Just because LeBron is not the player that he used to be doesn't mean that wherever he goes is not a big deal just because he's LeBron. How good was Michael Jordan when he went to the Wizards? But was it not a big deal that he was playing on the Wizards? I'm sure the Wizards got more primetime games with Michael Jordan than they otherwise would have. And they were not even 40-win teams with him, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. I mean, if they were lucky to win 40 or more back then,
right?
Because I forget who was even around him on that team because we all got to watch the Wizards era Jordan, sadly, if you were born in the 90s.
And also, you also have to remember, wherever LeBron goes will be a playoff team, almost a guarantee, and will likely, not guarantee, but likely be a finals contender depending on where he goes. I mean, not everywhere would be my first pick to be like, if he were to go to Miami or Golden State, I wouldn't think of them as, they wouldn't be my top picks as title contenders, but they're going to be in the conversation on some level in all likelihood. So just wherever LeBron goes tips the scale so much. That's the reason why. It's not like he's some scrub bench player. It's like, yeah, it's LeBron. Of course they're gonna wait.
Yeah, and I mean, this is like nothing new though for LeBron in general, guys, with how with in general, just like, dragging your feet basically and going from there. And I agree with Christy Wilson. I mean, just release the schedule regardless of where he's at. I mean, that's where I'm at, just because I think people want to plan for games regardless of where LeBron goes or not. I love to get back to Intuit Dome and recheck out the Clippers' new arena back up in Inglewood, and just, try to go to more NBA games. But, even then the prices are pretty damn expensive. David, your thoughts?
I think, like I said, my thing is, I think the NBA's got 3 or 4 schedules. And by that meaning, they have a Golden State schedule, they have a Philadelphia schedule, they have a Miami schedule. That means, like I said, here's the following. So let's say he goes to Philly. Opening night, you could have Philadelphia versus Boston. Advertising.
Turn it on.
Exactly. Christmas Day, Philadelphia versus New York. Or Philadelphia, something like that. He goes to Golden State. For a fact, Christmas Day, Golden State Lakers. That's etched in stone.
Yeah,
they're because when you say Raw released the schedule, they're looking at advertising dollars, and they want to max out LeBron for the next year, perhaps 2, on everything. Whether it's ESPN, NBA on NBC, all the streaming services, they're going to milk him for every dollar until he says, "I'm done and I'm retired."
That's 100% true. Do we think he's going to the Phillies, though, the 76ers? Like, I don't want to say the fans are delusional, but like,
none of us really know because LeBron and Rich Paul are really just not giving out many hints. But I wanted to point out another thing. We don't really know where Kawhi's going to go. We don't know if he's going to end up with the Raptors again. We don't know 100% for sure. So those are 2 star players that tip the scale so much.
Would he be able to play though with free agents?
Like James Harden's still a free agent. Draymond, they're all waiting for LeBron.
It's not even just about LeBron. So many star players, we don't know where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Nick.
Sorry.
Go ahead, David.
I was going to say real quick. Once he finalizes his team, my prediction within 24 to 48 hours, that schedule will come out.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, as soon as that thing is released, that or whenever he makes up his mind, though, and obviously that we've seen this though before though, between going to Miami the first time, back to Cleveland, Lakers, and now kind of being, where things are at right now. Ben, any thoughts on the matter at hand here?
No, I mean, I think most of you guys pretty much had the point. I mean, pretty much when he finds out the team he wants to go to, I think he's going somewhere east. I don't have any insight about it, but I think that's where he's going, some East team. But I feel like a lot of the obvious type of teams also, I feel like he would have gotten signed by now. Maybe it's just my overall thing about it. I feel like a team like Cleveland, a team like Miami, I feel like he would have just said, all right, just go ahead, Paul. Like, let's make this work out. But the fact it's kind of dragging on a little bit longer kind of tells me of, like, what does he want to do? Does he want to go for the fit? Does he want to just go to yeah. I see David obviously rolling out. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know in terms of what he wants to do, because he's obviously won a lot of rings, of course. He's obviously, done the fair role, of course, with Cleveland and Miami. So I don't know what he wants to do, but I think just obviously just go with the schedule. That obviously will be coming out pretty soon, and obviously his decision is a big factor.
And also, why is it so urgent that the schedule comes out in July? The season doesn't start until late October.
Well, and even then, though, is that usually because the NHL puts theirs out in July, so that way that they're able to, lock in dates, lock in national TV. The NBA, I think, though, that they've actually done it more in August anyway, regardless of what the NHL does, because usually if there's co-shared arenas, one league has to go out first for the other league, but it also depends on tenancy. Where I think, for example, at Crypto.com, I think the Lakers get priority, then the Kings, and then when the Clippers were there, it went Lakers, Kings, Clippers, and then Sparks, and then all the other events over the summertime. So sometimes it depends on that, though, like at MSG with the Knicks and the Rangers, Lakers and the Kings, for example, so on and so forth.
I would assume the Knicks might get first priority, or maybe the Rangers would. Well,
the Rangers already have their schedule out, so they
get first priority.
Yeah, so maybe they, but you know what, maybe they alternate though too, because especially with both,
you don't play every day in basketball or hockey.
Yeah, at one point the Clippers and Lakers or Clippers and Kings would do double headers. Like they would have a noon, like a 12:30 p.m. game for the Clippers, for example. Then they would clear out the arena and then change it over. And I think that the Knicks and Rangers still do that occasionally. Like there might be like a 3 p.m. start time game, or I should say like a noon game for the Knicks, for example. And then maybe there's a Ranger game at 7:30 or 7 o'clock Eastern time. So, I mean, it does happen, but
the NHL, you would never see a noon Knick game and then a 7:30 Ranger game. I don't. I guess it could maybe on a Sunday, but that's unlikely.
Yeah, I think it's usually on Sundays. Yeah.
You also have St. John's there too.
Yeah, and with St. John's playing there too, exactly. Good point, though, by Nick Morganson here, guys. He says, fellas, look, the reason that half the league is not signing it is because of payroll for what their team might need for LeBron. Take, for example, Draymond opted out for the Warriors for LeBron. Harden also opted out in Cleveland for LeBron. So I think that is a very fair point, though, that everyone else is trying to make this work out for payroll purposes with, 3 of these teams that we know of, maybe 4, maybe 5.
Well, the thing is, though, LeBron he's not going to be expensive, and he's not going to be a long-term commitment. He's going to be signed on a veteran's minimum. So teams aren't exactly going to be breaking the bank for LeBron.
You think it's going to be a veteran's minimum?
Yeah, supposedly. From what I'm hearing, it's going to be on a veteran's minimum. He said that he's willing to take veteran's minimum.
I'll be honest with you, though. Like maybe I'm being biased, but a lot of athletes say like, "Oh yeah, I'm willing to take less money in exchange for like whatever."
Fair enough.
And then you hear them sign like I could see realistically LeBron signing anywhere from like 20 to 40 mil. That I think is more accurate, but
sorry, continue.
No, I was just saying that like I could see why, to Nick's point, that most of the reason why half the league isn't signed is because of LeBron, because there are a lot of talented players out there right now that are able to be signed, but all teams are waiting to see where LeBron goes before they pick their number 2.
None of us know for sure. I don't think it's crazy to me that LeBron would take a veteran's minimum deal. Like he might want to win. He might want to be on a good team. You think he really needs the money that much? He's going to be a billion. He might already even be a billionaire.
He's a billionaire.
He's literally a billionaire. You think he's just like, he's probably not that worried about the money. What I think LeBron is actually most concerned about is convenience. personal convenience,
As we talked about last week.
Which is one of the reasons why Golden State makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying they make the most sense in terms of being championship contenders, but convenience-wise, it makes a lot of sense. I can see him wanting to play with Steph. It's a short plane ride or a long car ride away from LA. They're probably which is where all his family is in LA. And they're probably going to be a lot more accepting of him missing a lot of regular season games.
Don't forget his golf game.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great that's a great area to play golf. So I think that from a convenience standpoint, Golden State would make a lot of sense. Miami might also make a lot of sense because, apparently he likes golf, probably likes living in Miami. He might like that too. But I don't really think it's that crazy to think that he'll take a veterans minimum. We don't know. We won't know until he actually signs, but I don't really think that that's that crazy to me.
Or David, it'll be Florida Panthers syndrome. No state taxes in Florida.
Exactly.
Listen, guys, I've already seen the future. He's going to the Pistons. Don't worry about it. The mystery is solved. That's where he's going. He's going to the Pistons, and we're going to win. And we're going to win. And it's going to just be like that. It's just going to click together.
Finally win for the first time since the 04 season when they beat the Lakers going for a 4-peat. And I think, though, that we all agree here. If he wants to win Philadelphia, farewell tour, Cleveland, playoffs, Miami, and Golden State. I think we all agree on that one. Can we sign up on that memo?
I disagree a little bit.
I agree with that.
I'm worried about the thing with the Sixers is from a basketball standpoint, I don't know how well he really fits with the Sixers. They have a really good team, but just with two very ball dominant guards and Joel Embiid, I don't know where LeBron is really going to fit in that offense. I think Miami could make some sense. I think it really could. I don't think he cares that much about a farewell tour in Cleveland. I'm not really convinced of that, but I can tell you this. From a convenience standpoint, I don't think the Sixers are a stop choice. I don't think LeBron wants to live in the Northeast. And also, you look at the personalities on the Sixers, I think there might be some clashing there as compared to a team like Golden State, which I think would be a lot more accepting.
So you're thinking roster chemistry could be thrown for a loop if he goes to Philadelphia?
Yeah, I think it could. I mean, think about this. Jaylen Brown was fairly unhappy in Boston, which is one of the more well-run organizations until maybe that trade that they made, but one of the more well-run organizations in basketball. You look at the Sixers, they are not well-run. There's a lot of drama. Joel Embiid has said that he's not going to play back-to-back games, misses a ton of regular season games. Right. LeBron's also going to miss a ton of regular season games. Isn't that crazy to you that maybe Jaylen Brown might be a little unhappy with all of that?
Yeah,
well, apparently he hasn't been talking to Joel yet, Jaylen Brown.
David, maybe thoughts about if, in fact, LeBron goes to Philly, how that might, in fact, affect team chemistry or maybe team morale from your perspective?
I mean, you got an okay five. I mean, Embiid is, like you said, he doesn't play back-to-back. So you got the other guy they got, Wade from Cleveland. So he'll fit. I mean, any of those guys play. That guy comes off the bench. They got the guy Simons from the Celtics. That's another good backup. So I just don't know. Philly's what I just think like Golden State's going to be in the end here. I just think with all of his boys, he's close to home. Like you said, a couple hours away and everything else. I still think my thing is Golden State 1. Miami 2. I know that whole thing, yes, you would trust the process. I know what that was said. I'm still not really, but Philly, I just don't. I'm not saying it's a mess. I mean, they got rid of Paul George, which helped out too. You got Embiid, but yeah, you said it's the whole thing there. I mean, and then the contract, probably 20, 25, I want to say these signs of Philly. Because, I mean, they got some guys that are still making some pretty good dough. Embiid making crazy dough. I don't know how that whole minimum salaries and everything else goes. But, yeah, Philly would have if he goes there, they're a deep team. Are they the best team in the East? I mean, you still got to knock off the champs in the next as far as I'm concerned.
I guess then we all seem to be in agreement that his destination largely determines on like what his main motivation is. Is he trying to win or is he looking for something convenient?
He wants number 5.
Yeah.
What's legacy?
Fair.
I agree with you because here's my thing. You know, you don't get to be an athlete like LeBron unless you're through and through an athlete, a competitive person, no matter what period you are in your career. I think he still wants to win. I think he still has the dog in him to win. He just doesn't have the dog that allows him to show up to every single game, and that's fine. I think he's going to go wherever he can win best, but that is going to, like, I think make it a much more, like, I think 2 years is whatever he's willing to do at the next team.
I mean, if he goes to Golden State, you know, they're just going to run until the wheels fall off with that aging team.
Yeah.
If he goes to Cleveland, the popcorn, you know, get your popcorn out. It's him and James Harden playing together. I think that's just a disaster.
I think that's going to be terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Cleveland
be
anyway. I mean, you got, Donovan Mitchell's good, and they got some okay, but they're not a team I go, this is a team to beat in the Eastern Conference. I personally know.
Let me ask you guys this one: How is going to a team with the coach? Is that the big factor? Also, does he want to go to a specific team where, like Spoelstra, or go to Nick Seat? Like, I don't think it's the factor, but obviously, just kind of something to take into.
Well, do you think maybe he'd want to play under Steve Kerr?
Yes,
I would think so.
Yeah,
USA basketball.
1,000,000%.
Okay, so I think that might make sense, but LeBron's also going to have a whole lot of power as a player.
I hate saying this, not to be a hater, but does anyone else get the feeling that when they watch Golden State play, it's not a basketball team, but more of like a basketball club?
Well,
I can kind of see that a little bit.
Like I feel like, yeah, Steve Kerr is a great coach, but it's been a while since I've seen Golden State be like actually competitive and not just a team that shows up that you got to play against.
I mean, 4 years ago they won the finals.
That's true, but since then,
like rec ball at the LA Fitness down the street.
Yeah, and I think it adds to it with
More frequent than I mean they won more recently than most other teams have won.
I don't know. I think maybe it's just comboed with the fact that they have like that aging team. Like I look at so many other teams that have young players, exciting offenses, you know, like really robust rosters.
They're aging. That's their issue, is that they're aging.
Yeah.
They're very aging. And the thing too, Ben, real quick, is I think LeBron wants some familiarity when it comes to coaching, which means Kerr and Spoelstra are 1-2. And he knows, and you know, so those are the ones, in terms of coaching, that's the ones you look at. I'll be curious to see if you went to Philly, how he'd get along with Nick Nurse. But
yes,
I forgot to ask everyone, since we have everyone here, are all of us satisfied with our NBA pickups for our teams? Are we all happy with our moves? Ben, I know you're not. I apologize. I won't reopen that wound.
I was fairly okay with it.
Yeah,
I was okay with losing Mitchell Robinson. I'm not celebrating it. I'm not happy about it, but I was okay with it.
I don't even know. I don't even know like any
signing.
impactful. I don't even know any impactful things that the Clippers or the Rockets did whatsoever over the offseason, except for that the Rockets unveiled a new batch of uniforms and went back to red and gold for their color palette.
No, you can't say that the Clippers didn't do anything significant. Kawhi's in another investigation. That's pretty significant.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a whole different thing, and that's where the curveball comes in of when that trade gets voided, that LeBron stays in LA and goes to the Clippers and shoves it up the Lakers' ass. How about that?
speaking of which, like
that will never happen, and that won't happen because of the head coach named Tyronn Lue, because of how what of course went down a while back, I think, in Cleveland at this rate. With that, though, gents, before we get to the top of the hour, or we're already past the top of the hour, but of course, though, if you're an MMA fan, step inside the cage every Monday night and join Tom Albano for Fight IQ as Tom breaks down the world of combat sports with the precision of a championship game plan, from analyzing ground control at the PFL events to breaking down the technical mastery of the world's best strikers. We cover the technique, drama, and the business of the fight game. If you want to understand the IQ behind the world's most dangerous athletes, then Tom has you covered every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time, right here on the Into the Bench Network. Make sure you subscribe today to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ETB Network. As Tom, of course, and of course, Zan also joining us here again with all the fight news here across the ETB platforms here, with both Zan's coverage and, of course, Tom's coverage too here on the platform. Guys, the Open Championship wrapped up this weekend overseas, but of course, though, guys, it would not be a golf segment on this network without talking about a meltdown from Bryson DeChambeau, who lost his composure over the weekend after being assessed a brutal two-stroke penalty for a pace of play issue, but also for allegedly chopping down some grass in the area where his ball lied for a shot. Rather than resetting, DeChambeau went palms up towards the course marshal at the RNA course and into an absolute tailspin, visibly arguing with rules officials, throwing clubs, and of course, imploding his scorecard out of pure frustration. Ben, this is obviously nothing new for DeChambeau blowing up about something in a way kind of stupid revolving around the about the rules, though, in a tournament. I think that they even had like a statement put up by the RNA over the weekend. But Ben, absolutely nothing new, though, for Bryson DeChambeau. Reaction, though, to Bryson's typical meltdown of the golf course that usually comes around every few months.
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, this is a guy that always seems to, when there is adversity or something hits him, he spazzes out. And of course, you know him with Rory McIlroy, of course, the few that they've had in the last couple of years. Rory obviously got asked about it. He obviously had some interesting words, and understandably so, because of course the act that he had. But yeah, I just don't understand this man. I mean, of course he obviously can hit. You can hit the cover off the ball. Of course, he's a great overall golfer. But man, when shit hits the fan, it's definitely a type of golfer that it's I don't know. His act is just definitely can get old at times for sure. And he made a big scene. I'll tell you that.
And it kind of sucks because, like, I'm really wishing the best for him. I want to see him enter this, like, locked-in, dominant phase. And it's, as you said, every time something doesn't seem to go his way, he has this, like, sort of meltdown. I don't know if it's to, like, hide the fact that he thinks maybe in, like, tough situations he can't chop it. But, like, it's so disappointing to see at this point. I'm sure you can smile and shake your head and be like, haha, classic Bryson. But, like, for me, it's just like, God damn it, man.
I mean, yes, I get it. The Open is one of the toughest courses to play at.
Oh, and every year.
There's obviously a ton when it comes to a lot of the rough and a ton. And in terms of a lot of questionable, of course, the roughs themselves, obviously the big, the big bunkers, obviously, that have a ton of really tough, especially one of the shots Bryson had to try to go from the rough yesterday, where essentially like the lie itself was brutal. Like he was trying every single type of way to try to just hit it out. I mean, he found a way, but so to his credit, there obviously is some, but he obviously didn't have to go the way he had to go. And it's not the only time he's done it. So obviously that's why it's a big story.
Nick, I'm going to make a very bogus comparison and compare DeChambeau in a way to Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore 1. To the point that, and I think, though, goes to Ben's point, whenever there's some kind of adversity, it becomes a three-ring circus. Like, I think the scene of the fans with the beach balls on the hole, and he turns on and says, damn it, people, this is golf, not a rock concert. and he uses his club to beat down the beach ball. But in this case, though, Nick, again, we can call it typical, DeChambeau or whatever. But it always seems like, though, Nick, whenever the going gets tough for this man, mentally he seems unstable. And I mean, this literally came down to him, using his club to like try to, take down weeds, basically, where the ball lie in the rough after his tee shot. Like Ben said, the guy hits the ball at the tee, though, but it's either, wide right, wide left, maybe hits a fairway once in a blue moon. So, D-Mart, I guess, though, typical Bryson behavior, your thoughts on another DeChambeau meltdown during the course of the Open Championship this weekend over in England?
Yeah, I heard about this. So apparently he's like the John McEnroe of golf.
That's a better comparison, actually.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know a ton about golf. Does he have has he like won the US Open or the British Open? Does he have any like slams?
He's won the Masters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so he has something. And this happens apparently with him very often.
Yes. Yeah, him and Rory McIlroy have had feuds, and Rory's obviously another. Rory's an international player from Ireland. Obviously, Bryson is American.
Well, I think golf is one of those sports where it's a bigger problem if you have a temper, like compared to say football or basketball or baseball or something like that. Like if a football player has a temper, it's not a big deal. It's a violent sport and, they get mad at each other a lot. Similar thing with basketball kind of, but in golf, it's like known as a gentleman's game and it's high class and, you're not supposed to do that. So I think on some level, it's a lot worse when golfers do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, though, David, that to Ben's point, even the next point, though, like, all of us, kind of in a way knew about McEnroe being a firecracker on the tennis court, the whole, you cannot be serious towards the umpire every time that he would, question a ball being in or out, though. I think, though, that's a great point by DeMart, though, that DeChambeau's kind of in a way like the modern-day golf version of a John McEnroe, that when the going gets tough or like he feels like the odds are stacked against him, he's got to resort to like these very, I think classless, phony baloney tactics of like, palms up towards the hole marshal, pulling out the rule book. And again, what I think I recall seeing, though, he like took his club and like chopped down this giant size grass where the ball had lied, though. And also I think that Morgan makes a great point, though, that Bryson DeChambeau has the YouTube money that he already has. So he feels like he can act out like a jerk and act above the rules of the game, though. But even then, though, David, I know this happens a lot, though, but still, I think gets tiresome for people that maybe casually watch golf every so often when a major like the Masters rolls around, that in a way you get sick and tired in a way of the antics overshadowing that his game could be great if he would learn to stop getting in his own head, though. But David, your reaction, though, to DeChambeau's meltdown on the course, though, over at the Open Championship?
Not surprised. The 11th hole was fun to watch when he had his 7. I just think it gets old after a while. But now the thing is, he's now being called a cheater, and that's where Scotty Scheffler today had to come in and like defend him and like, look, he's not a cheater. And then Scotty went on this thing like almost like that. It seems like he thinks that like some of these players, and he wasn't the only one. I was just reading it where they feel like now that some of these guys are getting not too much TV time, but they're getting every shot on TV. And so I guess like then people are over analyzing it and everything else. I don't know. I don't know if how much true is that. I mean, just like you said, I think he just hits everything so hard. It's sort of like John Daly, where he just tries to crush the ball type of thing.
Yes.
The thing that's going to be interesting to him, though, after this year is, unless like I'm wrong, Liv I've seen like it's going to crash and burn.
Yes.
And he made it
They're
sound like he wasn't going to go back to the PGA Tour, so he's just like going to do YouTube and then pick, I guess, some majors. But I'm like, I guess I'd love to know like what he makes in YouTube money. I know he does certain things, but like, does he make several million a year and he's comfortable with that? Like, I'm going to do YouTube because after a while, it's going to be like. People are like, okay, I'd rather see you play tournaments against guys like Rory and stuff than do a YouTube video. And I'm like, then you can just unsubscribe if you're not into it anymore.
Yeah, Zan, I think the problem that people have with DeChambeau is that he's kind of a hard ass on the course, though. That there's been, and I think that Ben and Nick said it right, though. There's been some public feuds with him and Rory McIlroy. Him and Brooks Koepka had a major falling out, I think 6 years ago, where people were heckling him, on the course in a way like the fans, taunting Shooter McGavin and Happy Gilmore, that people would yell Brooksy on his tee shot or when he's putting, just to like, egg him on, where again, you get into his head, the guy blows up and self-destructs, though. So Ben, how about your thoughts on the latest episode involving Mr. DeChambeau's bad tee shot at the Open Championship that led to the 2-stroke penalty, but also the circus around that approach and also the whole hands up towards the course marshal at the course in England?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, just obviously his bad shot. Obviously, there's a lot when it comes to that course, and he's been a type of guy in the past also where, like I mentioned, where things don't go his way, he obviously lets people know about it, and then of course the stroke. I mean, obviously, the 2-stroke that he had just completely cannot happen, and obviously if he at least just took one and of course went. I mean, obviously the final round was close. And so every little, missed stroke or every little type of thing that, obviously he could have controlled maybe a little bit better, he could have been in a better spot come this round that happened this morning, of course, being overseas. So yeah, just I don't know what is going to happen for him to kind of change his overall tone around when it comes to his overall inefficiencies on some of his drives, but it's happened before. He obviously has to get himself back and look in the mirror, because not only it's a bad rap for him, but it's just a bad rap when it comes to the PGA, because a lot of the people on the PGA value what Bryson brings. He's a character, and in terms of the type of, when you look at a lot of golfers, they're kind of just like very even keeled. I mean, Scotty is obviously one of the top and others, but Bryson's a different type of beast. And unfortunately, his name as of late has not been for the good ways compared to what he's had in the past.
Zan, Nick writes in, I think David asked, DeChambeau has 2.78 million subscribers on YouTube and makes between 750,000 to 1.7 million a year.
Okay.
Only
Zan,
on YouTube, though.
Yeah. So the 2.78 million for subscribers for YouTube and then his salary. Zan, do you at all think, though, maybe like David said, though, that if DeChambeau, in what we have known, and we actually had Alan Shipnuck on a few months ago to talk about the LIV's implosion, Zan, do you at all agree maybe with David's sentiments, though, that if in fact, let's say that Bryson doesn't go back to the PGA, LIV folds operation, and he just does the YouTube content and then plays a couple of rounds of golf, that maybe his fan base might revolt against him because he's not playing every tournament out there, in your opinion?
I don't think so. I mean, when you already have that much traffic coming to your YouTube channel, I don't think you need much more validation than what he already has. I mean, people subscribe to him for one reason or another. They subscribe to him because they hate him, or they subscribe to him because they love him and there's no in between.
Yeah, Connor, any thoughts about DeChambeau's antics over the weekend?
I've made this same comment, similar to what Nick has said a few times before when we briefly talked about golf. With his YouTube career, he really doesn't have the same pressures to perform and act like your standard professional golfer. 750 is on the lowest end of what he makes a year. And 750 is not bad of a purse if you place in like the top 3 or top 5 of a particular open. And you don't have to do any of the travel fees associated with it. So to me, his YouTube career is only going to further enable this sort of crybaby, woe is me attitude.
So again, folks, there's our thoughts. Again, Bryson DeChambeau with that 2-stroke penalty that again led to the viral clip of him going after, or at least being in a full-fledged argument, I should say, with the course marshal over the weekend at the Open Championship. Guys, real quick story from the NHL. Connor Bedard, despite getting injured in a private training session a few weeks ago, gets paid by the Chicago Blackhawks for a 5-year extension worth about $15 million annually. Mr. Course, guys, came on the heels, though, of the offer sheet war between the Flyers and the Ducks for Leo Carlsson, that Anaheim match for a 5-year, $18 million AAV. Ben, your thoughts, though, about the Blackhawks locking up a franchise player, though, Ben, at the cost, though, of Bedard being out for 4 months because of an injury suffered. Your thoughts on high money for an injury-prone player going in Chicago?
I mean, it's a risk, but they had to do it. I mean, this is obviously a guy that is a top 3 draft pick. Obviously, he has all the tools in the world to be the superstar beyond what he's obviously brought. But obviously, the value of his course is huge, and I think the Blackhawks obviously paid him obviously a fair amount in terms of what he got. When he is healthy, he is obviously their team. That's essentially who you build around. He's a big market type. He's going to be a big market type of overall type of player. And I know Callan, me and you, of course, talked about this, off the year before. Of course, potentially this could have happened. If he went somewhere else, there would have been a ton of suitors out there for him because he's young. He has a ton of scoring ability. He has that clutch gene as well, too. When he plays, he always seems to come up big when it's needed most. He's always been just very impressive, of course, when I watch him play. So the Blackhawks needed to do this. I think it also opens up more of a destination for other teams to go and play with a guy like him because he's that good. So it not only, helps him out, but I just think as in terms of for the team, yes, he's obviously going to be out for 3-4 months, of course, have him healed up, get him ready to go, of course, whenever. But I think that the Blackhawks obviously are trying to build something down the road. And, of course, you have to find a way to lock up your best player. And, of course, that's what they did.
Zan, I know it's been tough for the Blackhawks since the last cup being won about almost 11 years ago in 2015. Kind of seeing, the core of Taves and Kane and Corey Crawford kind of go their separate ways and trying to recoup the losses, though. And obviously that Bedard, kind of burst on the scene, though, but of course had the fractured jaw. He's had this repeated shoulder problem, though, that was brought up again, though, sadly, in practice away from the team, though, as camps have not opened up yet. Zan, overall thoughts on the Blackhawks paying Bedard, though, but at what price, though, because of the injury history?
I mean, they obviously know they have to lock up their franchise player, right? He's the reason why they put butts in seats. He's the reason why I've started to go to Blackhawks games a little bit more often. I have a very close friend who tries to go to as many Blackhawks games as he can per season, and one of the reasons why he does so is because he believes in Connor Bedard as the future of the franchise. So I think the Blackhawks know that they can get him healthy. Is it a financial risk if it doesn't work out? Yes, but what they are aware of, though, is they're trying to go for the jugular, because even if for whatever reason they get an aging Patrick Kane, that's not going to do anything. They know
Yeah.
that the star of this team moving forward for the next 5, 10, maybe even 15 years, given how young he is Connor Bedard. So knowing that they have a long-term commitment to him and knowing that they have time to fix his nagging injuries is, I think, more of a positive than a negative. Do things have to turn? Has management made some critical mistakes? Have they made some trades that have not made sense? 100%. But at the very least, they know that number 98 is a key piece, and locking him up all but ensures that he's the present and he's the future in Chicago. And within the next 2 to 3 years, if he can stay healthy, I'm excited to see what this team can do. It's going to be a slow build, just like it was 15 to 17 years ago. You know, going into 2009, nobody knew how good the Blackhawks were going to be. It's going to be that emerging franchise that you least expect, to where in the next couple of years, if they shock the Western Conference, it's going to be because of him and him alone, in my opinion. So,
David, Anaheim and Philly have had a lot of history over the past few years with trades. We're kind of in a bit of a gutter war when it came down to the offer sheet drama with Leo Carlsson from Danny Beret giving out the $18 million AAV for him. And I think, though, David, that really, I think, has helped the NHL redefine and set the bar for player salary. I was maybe a little surprised, though, that Bedard got that much money, though, for $15 million, not something more, though. But I mean, that's going to reset the marketplace, maybe for McDavid, maybe for Celebrini in about 3 to 5 years. But David, I'm obviously, you lock up the young player, though. I've seen this so many times with the Padres when they locked up Fernando Tatis Jr. with that 14-year contract before all the injury problems and off the field stuff happened. David, your thoughts, though, about Chicago taking the roll of the dice here to give Bedard again $15 million AAV, despite him getting hurt about a week or two ago?
Well, here's how I look at it this way. He's 21 years old. Like, he's not, like you said, he's literally just like a second or third year in the league. And the thing is, what he probably said is, look, I'll take this, and we have $14 million in cap space, and then we're going to be up to $50 million next year. Go get guys that can help us score goals. You got some younger guys in Nazar and some other ones. That's what he probably said. Like, it's almost like what McDavid said to Edmonton. Go get some guys that we could build this team. And the thing is that, like, I'm going through the cap stuff, the stuff with the Blackhawks in the future. Like, next year, 3 first-round picks. In 3 first rounds next year. They got, so actually, the first 3 rounds, they got 7 picks, 3 in the first round. Yeah, so they're building it that way. You get some free agents, and then that's the thing. When he's done, he's 26. He's going to get $20 million per. Like I said, they were talking about, like, Connor McDavid. I saw one person said they think he'll get like between 20 and 25 easily in his next contract. So with Bedard, this is a fine deal for him. Fine for Chicago. Build around him. He's going to miss the first 2 months of the year. So you're talking October, November, and then he'll be back by the time Thanksgiving, Christmas rolls around. And Chicago's doing it the right way. It's a good deal for both. And then it's got to build on it. It just comes down to, like we always talk about, drafting, signing guys, free agency, stuff like that. And also it's good because they also don't have to deal with any sort of offer sheet from any teams. They were like, we're getting this done. That might be the new thing now you might see in the league. Because of what happened with Anaheim and Carlson, teams like will just go, we got to get this guy locked up right now and sign him for 5 years or whatever. So we're not getting deal with offer sheets. So
yeah, David, that was quite a few days there with the news of the offer sheet that Danny Beret threw the way of Carlson. He signed it and then gave Pat Verbeek like 7 days. So it's either you match the offer sheet or you get four picks from Philadelphia.
Yeah, and now you got to juggle things around with. Do you trade Chris Kreider? I was hearing that one because now Gautier's already said, I'm not taking $1 less. So if you want to sign both of them, you're going to have to dump some of those guys that you have who have got big payrolls, one of them being Kreider. So we'll
Yeah,
see what
I
happens.
I heard Kreider, I heard Vetrano, I heard Callan, and maybe late round draft picks, maybe. And I think that's a good starting point. We'll see. Nick D, though, how about your thoughts from an organizational standpoint about franchise superstar gets locked up though, but does come with a bit of injury history?
What type of injury history does he have?
Bad shoulder.
You see, that's not as bad as like a history of lower body injuries. I don't know a ton about hockey and how injury, like I can tell you how bad like lower body injuries are for basketball players, and it's usually pretty debilitating. I don't know how bad that would be for a hockey player having a history of shoulder injuries.
Shoulder injuries tend to be like persistent, though. They're like
normally it's the joint from how often you're getting hit. Either you're hitting somebody into the boards or vice versa.
He's had 3 major injuries. He's had a broken jaw. He had his other shoulder was hurt last year, missed 12 games, and then he got hurt just now, practice out for 4 months.
I still think, I mean, the biggest issue with the Blackhawks is that they haven't been a good team in a long time. They haven't made the playoffs in 6 years, and they haven't had a winning record in like 10 years. I think that they're in a little bit of a desperate position, it seems like. But you kind of got to go all in on your star player. That's kind of just how I see it. Like when you're in that position, you kind of just have to. You can't be like, well, what about injuries? Sometimes you really just have to, because, I mean, what are your alternatives? There's a really good chance that you're going to end up in an even worse position without going all in on your star player. Like, I just don't see what other option they had. And he's also 21 years old. So 5 years. What was it? 5 years?
5 years, 15 million.
Yeah.
50 million a year. I mean, I kind of think it's smart because you're locked in until he's 26. That's still, even by professional sports standpoints, even that's still young. So I kind of think it was smart. The guy's 21 years old. So I kind of think they had to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing, like you mentioned, Nick. It's one thing, like, it's probably still going to take a lot of them for time to kind of gel still as a younger team and try to get themselves back in the playoff race. But if you're not going to be a good team, at least be entertaining, right? You know, there's nothing worse than having a team that you support that not only is terrible, but they're just completely borderline unwatchable. And I think for the Blackhawks state of things, it's like, well, if we're not going to be great in a really good Western Conference, at least we have this so-and-so star player that is locked up that we can look forward to in the next couple of years of hopefully giving us hope for what could be becoming a potential of a team that could try to win something.
And you're hopeful, by the way, real quick, Connor. I think you're also hopeful if you're Zan in Chicago. You're hoping that Colorado finally stops being so good. Dallas stops being so good. Utah stops being so good, because, I mean, you've been buried in this, what I love to call the black and blue division of the Western Conference, because it's been Dallas, Minnesota, Winnipeg as the top 3 teams the last several years, or Minnesota being up there, as 3, 4, 5 teams deep out of the 8 teams in the division. Connor, go ahead and give your thoughts here about this contract again. And like I said, though, I saw this, though, when the Padres did the same exact thing for Fernando Tatis. They gave him a 14-year contract before he had shoulder problems, PED suspensions, and motorcycle accidents. Your thoughts?
So I guess my question would be, is this like a Joe Burrow situation? For those who have like obviously watched this guy's career, is this like a Joe Burrow situation where he's super talented but a glass cannon, or is he actually like a durable player that has just been hit with the unfortunate injury bug? Like,
it could be a case for both.
Yeah,
it's for both, but I would say probably I'd lean more towards 2.
Okay,
I think he's just been he obviously had the jaw injury. I think that's very like
that's kind of a fluky thing to happen.
Fluky thing. Yep. I think it, we'll obviously kind of have to see in terms of more of his play if there's obviously more. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but at least for right now, I'd say number 2.
Okay, because I mean, like, the whole thing is like, if you're in a situation like Nick just described, where it's like go for broke, you don't have much good prospects, like you have a good shot in front of you, but it's a long shot nonetheless. As long as you're not a glass cannon, putting that money into a contract like that is the same as putting your faith in, okay, we can rehabilitate this guy, we can get him back to top health.
So again, folks, Connor Bedard back to Chicago, locked up with a $50 million AAV 5-year deal to stay with Chicago, but again, out for a few months due to the injury. saying hello real quick to Martha's Vineyard writing in as well. So thanks for being here. With that, guys, the NFL is in the limelight, though. But though, guys, for a restart of the ongoing turf war, literally and figuratively, in wake of the recently held FIFA World Cup across NFL stadiums. But now a new labor storm is gaining strength, though, guys, as NFL training camps do open up in about a week's time here, roughly. But now with the hashtag worth the cost, many NFL players are, in fact, once again calling on billionaire NFL owners to once again pay for natural grass surfaces in wake of the World Cup being held at various NFL stadiums across the entire country, including recently Niners wide receiver George Kittle also did that earlier today on social media as well. You know, Nick, this has been, I think, though, a very much quiet war going across the board here with, I think this happened a few years ago because I think that the data began to show, though, that there's been a lot of issues with, ACL injuries, ankle injuries playing on these turf surfaces. I mean, I get it, though, in regards to the fact that there's been problems, though, like, the Jets and Giants, for example, the Chargers and Raiders, having, sharing their stadium over the course of the NFL season, and that certain marketplaces like back east really probably can't do grass because of the weather conditions, with the snow and the rainfall. Nick D, your thoughts about the players now at this rate going back and going down the pipeline to restart this entire turf war now with the NFL owners after the World Cup has come and gone?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because how true is it? Because I've heard that like turf is more likely to cause injuries. I don't know how true that is. I don't know because like I just haven't really like studied it or anything really, so I don't really know. But if it is true, which they should be able to figure it out, I mean, players should not be playing on turf if it makes injuries more. If it makes them more prone to injury.
I can say that the most amount of injuries I've gotten in high school and college were on turf, but I think there's no two turfs are there. I should say no two turfs are the same, but not all turfs are created equally. MetLife is notoriously shitty for traction.
Yes.
And it causes a lot of overextension tears, issues with hypermobility. Sorry, my cat's going insane.
I was going to say, look at what happened to Rodgers' first play of his Jets tenure, sadly.
Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors cut or trying to get away from the rush.
OBJ
I think
had something too, right?
Who?
OBJ. When he was in the Giants, he had
That's
something
right.
fluky there too. Yeah.
And this has been, like you've mentioned, this is a quiet war. This has been petition after petition every year. And I think most of the time the NFL and a lot of like the wider audience just chuckled like, oh no, better luck next time. But I think they do need to change the turf. You cannot be kneecapping players' careers with injury out of laziness or incompetence.
So, by the way, guys, I did some quick digging here. Per ESPN, NFL players overwhelmingly prefer natural grass, with some surveys from players showing 92% favor grass, 6% feel indifferent, only 2% of the player pool prefers turf. Now, studies do indicate, by the way, that do indicate a 28% higher rate of non-contact lower injuries and a 69% higher rate of non-contact foot and ankle injuries on turf compared to grass surfaces.
Yeah, I mean, it might be kind of hard to explain that, especially with the non-contact injuries. The point is, if it's true that if it's more dangerous, what is the point of playing on turf? Like what is even the advantage of it?
I think the only places I think that because I actually think that they even said that I think it's half and half. Like I think 16 stadiums in the league have grass, 16 of them have turf. I know some of them are dome stadiums, as I already said, though. I do think that the Raiders and Cardinals do play on grass because they've built the stadium with a outdoor like giant, like it's like a giant pizza oven, basically. Like you pull the tray in and out of the stadium, basically. David, how about your thoughts? Because I know very well, David. Back in the day, you had Pittsburgh, you had Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, St. Louis that all played on the carpet, like the actual like very thin carpet of AstroTurf. Back in the day, that the Astrodome and stuff. Now, thankfully, the Chargers and Padres played on grass when they shared Qualcomm Stadium back in the day. But, David, where do you stand on this whole issue, though, with now the NFL players, again, going back to start up this turf war again with the NFL ownership groups?
Well, the other thing that you also forgot about when it came to the old stadiums was the infamous cutouts, which, of course, cost some guys their careers. I remember Elliot Brafel and this guy when the Eagles played the Bears at home. Wendell Davis, receiver from LSU, blew both of his knees out trying to catch a ball. It ended his career. I mean, turf should be. It's one of those things. I know why there'll always be the same. The owners are just looking at cheap. It's like it's easier not to maintain the turf and all the other stuff. I'm all for grass. My thing of if I was the Players Association, because the talk has also been about 18-game schedule, I'd be like, you want 18? We want grass. Simple. I just think it's safer for everybody. Now, they probably would have an issue with some of these other places, like I'm throwing out examples, Atlanta and New Orleans, who can roll it out in terms of the grass part, like, the Raiders do and the Cardinals do. So.
Yeah, I think, Zan, that'll be the problem, I think, is that there won't be, and I said so, there's not a proper way to maintain the grass. Now, I think that Lambeau has it right. I think they have a system underneath the field that allows them to, have it grow underneath. They bring out these special lights. I've actually seen the Padre grounds crew do this after games at Petco Park, that they will put these special, like, plant lights over certain areas, in front of home plate, down the baselines to let the grass grow overnight. And I think, Zan, that obviously that the numbers, again, from what we saw from those days, though, do show that, grass is one thing. But I also, like I said, though, it's also tough, though, like Jets and Giants, Rams and Chargers, that they share the stadium, though, too, and that you really can't, paint over, all the branding and stuff for each team or whatnot and so on and so forth. But, Zan, do you think it's probably time, the wake of the World Cup coming and going, that it's probably time now for the NFL to look at going to all grass surfaces if they can do so?
I mean, I think there's pros and cons to it either way. I think it would make football a little bit more of a pure sport. That's for sure. And if there's too many players complaining about turf, and given how much money the NFL generates a year, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Zan, do you know, though, if the Bears will go to a turf service when they get that new stadium built in Indiana? Do we know about that yet by chance?
Not certain. No, I don't think so.
Out of curiosity, is that still happening? Because I feel like every news bulletin I get regarding it is like, oh, Bear Stadium has hit new snag or new obstacle in the way.
Still no update from what I've seen as of recent.
I think the ownership and the Bears didn't expect the backlash that had happened, that they were going to be going to Hammond, Indiana. So
that's a perfect example, like to what you're saying, Callan. That's a perfect example of owners trying to be cheap. And
big time.
And because, like, you could have actually just afforded it and kept Bears heritage and legacy going on, but no,
absolutely,
you wanted the city to foot the bill.
Yeah,
a city, mind you, if you've ever driven down, is struggling to do just their fucking potholes. So let me tell you that.
Hey, you don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me anything else, because I know all about potholes in San Diego, and they can't even get those right either here when the sun's out 300 days out of the year, and partially, and that was also. Connor, to your point, though, about why the Chargers left San Diego almost 10 years ago, come next season in 2027, was, and by the way, if you want to know how long the Chargers battled the city of San Diego for a new stadium, from the time I was in first grade, gentlemen, 26 years ago, all the way until they left in 2017. So basically my entire life, it was political volleyball between different mayors every 4 years, the city, the county, and Dean Spanos, after his dad got, very much ill, and Alex was a phenomenal owner when the team was here, very giving to the community and stuff like that. And, the whole thing, though, was, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think 4 or 5 different mayors could not get a deal done with the Chargers whatsoever. And it boiled down, though, to, when the Padres left Qualcomm Stadium and stuff of that nature, and got their downtown stadium, that Dean Spanos began to like, well, hey, they got one, why not us? And, that plot of land, by the way, that they built the new stadium where SDFC, the Wave, and the SDSU football team plays, literally the Murph used to be right there, in the parking lot, and you can, kind of, feel the presence of it. But regardless, that plot of land, guys, even got tied up, though, in a citywide vote for the Chargers to stay here. But Spanos, in a way, like, rigged it a little bit in favor of the team, that, we're only going to let the city voters vote on this. So I got to vote on it, for example. But a lot of the Charger fan base guys here lived in the county, like out in the east, down in the South Bay, down up by Camp Pendleton, up to the north. And that it was a way, though, that they wanted to jerry-rig the whole vote, though, guys, where it had to get the 2/3 measure And they wanted, I think, to jack up the hotel taxes, I think, down here, I want to say. And then also, of course, public money. And public money here in California is obviously is a major, major deal breaker. So by the time that all happened, that's about when the team was already 1 foot out the door. But they had a foot out the door, though, I think, in 2016, though. When I remember watching a game on CBS, and Scott Kaplan, who used to play for the Chargers and now was a successful talk show host up in Los Angeles at ESPN 710, had said, hey, guys, thanks for sending it down to me. I talked to Dean Spanos today, and what I'm hearing is that Dean is now seriously considering Los Angeles. And they cut to him in the owner's box. He's sitting guys like this. Like, I'm about to do the city over so badly and not know the backlash of this whole thing. And when I heard those words, and this is a good little insight here, when I heard that whole thing said, that's where I said, okay, as soon as this team leaves, I'm done with the sport and done with the NFL in general. And I remember the day it happened, too. It was January of 2017. Dean Spanos wrote a letter that the team put out on social media at 6 o'clock in the morning local time. The story blew up on local radio and TV here. I had a bunch of friends go to Charger Park in Murphy Canyon, which is about roughly, I'd say, 10 minutes north of where the stadium was. And it became a giant, bonfire. People threw in their, all their Charger shit, got thrown in this giant, pile. And they set it on fire. They were flipping off the building. And since they left, guys, that building has not been touched. Like there used to be a Charger bolt, believe it or not, actually in the canyon that they cut out. They've let weeds grow over it. There's no branding on the building. And so, but then though, what's even worse,
the entire city has gone through a John Mayer breakup.
Oh yeah. And people like and people like me have lived through it for the last 9 years. And the other thing though too is that I believe that when they built Snapdragon, the new stadium, it came down to either a soccer ballot initiative or the college ballot initiative. And the college ballot won by a wide margin. And even then though, guys, they built the stadium, and SDSU football does not draw whatsoever. I mean, they built it for 35,000 seats. They have a stipulation though that if the NFL ever does come back here, they can add 20,000 more seats. But I go there, I'm like, how are you going to put 20,000 more seats in the stadium when you barely can keep the sun out for a 4 o'clock kickoff for a soccer game, and people are here, on the concourses because there's no shade with how they built it. It looks like a damn erector set with how they built it, like a old school, like high school bleacher sections, basically, along the sides though. I mean, it's a beautiful stadium. Don't get me wrong, but there was a very big missed opportunity by the city, the county, the Chargers, the NFL to, keep the franchise here. And, they've gone to LA. They've been, they've been relevant on the field though, but even then, they really don't have much of like full support though. And I would hate, like for the Bears, for example, like we were talking about here, to go across state lines though, still be called Chicago. But like Connor said though, you're losing the heritage of the original founding member of the NFL. And that kind of though, guys, went to a point real quick. I don't mean to, ramble here, but at one point recently, I'm working on another Substack. Kind of in a way like tying in like my disdain for the NFL and for the Chargers, because I don't know if you guys remember this, but the Chargers, when they wore that all navy blue look last year, the navy blue helmet, the jersey, and the pants, that was literally their home uniform from the time I was growing up until they went back to the powder blue and the lighter gold. And they tried so damn hard to make that a LA Charger thing that they called them the Superchargers. One problem, that song says San Diego Superchargers. The team has just done such a piss poor job trying to ignore that they played here. And whenever they name Lorenzo Neal, LT, Junior Seau, Antonio Gates' LA Charger legends, that's what makes my blood boil down here. That they never played one down up there except for Gates at the back nine of his career, though. And that LT's become a big mouthpiece for that ownership group. That, okay, we get it, that you want to be in LA and that it's a whole new thing. But don't, further, erase the identity of that lightning bolt logo, and then also change your scoreboard to look like Jack Murphy Stadium back in the 90s when they were winning the AFC Championship. So I would hate to see like the Bears in a way kind of do that in a way when you meant so much to the NFL in that capacity. But even then, guys, like, I still get like emails from the Chargers, and I always report spam. Like, I'm not going to pay money to watch your crap team play because of how you left this marketplace. And I know that more could have been done by the city and the county, the franchise, and the NFL, and believe me, guys, there's been a major gaping hole here, with the NFL being gone. And it has sucked to not, still be a part of that. But I also wrote in, and we'll get to a commercial break here in a second, but I made this mention earlier in the day on the World Cup coverage that I follow a MLS and soccer content creator named Eli Lesser who lives up in LA. He's a LA Galaxy supporter. And he put a video out asking, briefly tell us or tell me, how did you get into soccer? How did you, follow or get into MLS? And I literally wrote, I had to find a way to fill a void because I lost my NFL team to LA 9 years ago. And that I've always loved soccer, but I've never had a MLS team here. I went to Galaxy matches and LAFC matches because they were the only two teams close by. And that now that we've, worked for 30 years to get a stadium to actually bring a team here, and that we've done so well with indoor soccer, with the Sockers winning 17 titles. I've got my 3 rings right next to me when I was a part of their organization. And we've had minor leagues, minor league, we've had indoor, we've had, obviously the NWSL is here. But that's now how I feel, like my weekends, like my Saturday for college football or my Sunday for the NFL is by going to watch soccer. And everybody that wrote back to me said, I may not like San Diego as a sports town because I live in LA or whatever, but I'm glad, though, that you have a way now to fill your weekends, because we've long thought that your marketplace for San Diego, being so close to Tijuana and to Mexico, was such a great place to come and, and to finally get a club. And I've heard that from fans who I have met from Colorado, Minnesota, Portland, Cincinnati, even what have you. So great to see that that's finally played out here. I don't mean to ramble here at this rate. My apologies. But with that, though, guys, at this rate, though, before we do, in fact, move on here to the very end, stop just watching the fights and start breaking down them the right way. Join Zan Bando and Tom Albano for season 3 of Tough Enough right here on ETB, as they are your official headquarters for all things going on inside the house and straight into the cage, with the most unfiltered real-time analysis you'll find anywhere, as they cover every weight cut, every rivalry, and every coaching clash the moment it does happen. You can catch Zan and Tom right here on ETB and across our entire family of Twitter accounts as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel today at youtube.com/ETB Network. Zan, when can people find Tough Enough coming up this week or maybe next week?
Yeah, it'll be this coming week. It'll be an extended episode. It'll probably drop Wednesday evening, I would get, as we'll be recapping the last 2 episodes because Tom was away on vacation. So those of you who have been waiting for an Ultimate Fighter catch-up, you will get that. And that means that by the time the episode's over, we will have officially hit the second half of another Ultimate Fighter season, which means before you know it, by the middle of next month, it'll be time for the finale. Then it'll be time to do it all over again next year, as the Ultimate Fighter is a once-a-year TV product. So, yeah.
All right, so that's when we will have that drop. With that, guys, we have some time to fill real quick. So, Nick D, was there maybe anything around the sporting world that we maybe missed that you'd like to bring up at the very end here?
Anything that we missed?
Brandon Ayuk? I was waiting for us to talk about that.
Yeah, maybe Brandon Ayuk. I was also going to say the Mets beat the Phillies 6-1, but yeah.
Hey, no need for him to take the blow up today. But Connor, how about you? Or I should go to you, I guess, because you brought it up again. Brandon Ayuk, latest. What do you got for us? What are you thinking?
Well, so obviously, have you guys seen his latest videos, his tweets, all that jazz?
Yikes.
So now he's claiming that Kyle Shanahan secretly wants him back, and that the 49ers still want him. And what? I mean, the one thing you don't do is fuck with Kyle Shanahan or the Shanahan coaching staff. Like that's always been the case. Anytime someone crosses Shanahan, they have a terrible go of it afterwards. So that bridge is definitely burnt. But moreover, and I was talking with my brother about this, I legitimately feel that this has to be some sort of like mental breakdown or mental episode.
Absolutely.
There's no way that this is like him just being stupid. I mean, Christy obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, like mic drop with Christy's comment. I mean, Nick, I think we talked about this whole thing though a couple weeks ago here in the lounge, that we all, I think, agree here. There's got to be something wrong upstairs with Brandon Ayuk right now. And again, we talked about that he had the active arrest warrant for his actions behind the wheel when it came to the, charges of aggressive speeding and showboating, as they were saying, though, when it came to California Penal Code for traffic violations. But Nick, I mean, it's tough. I think it's getting tougher to deny that there's something going on mentally that no one's talking about at all.
Sick of this story.
Couldn't agree more.
It feels like this never-ending, this like never ending
cycle
feud that just never seems. This whole thing just never comes to an end. There's no solution to it. Like he's constantly throwing shade at the Niners. It's been going on forever. The story is just so old to me.
He pops off about Jaden Daniels and his mom.
Yeah, like
and then he goes on live and says, "Oh, Kyle Shanahan wants me back." Are you what?
What makes you say that?
But also here's the other thing, like, and not to add on top of when you said,
No,
like,
you're good.
so it's just that, like, even let's say a happy ending happens, right? Commanders are like, all right, you little rapscallion, get on over here. We totally agree with you about Jane Daniels' mom. It's fucking weird. Like, even if they invite him to the team, the moment he signs on any dotted line for any amount of money, the 49ers are going to go after it because they're entitled, due to the contract breach, to any money he receives. So when Jaden Daniels tweeted out, enjoy your retirement, whether it's practically, like functionally, or just,
or a giant middle finger or an FU,
it's true. His career's cooked because even if he does play, he's going to make no money off of this. And he doesn't really inspire fiscal priority. So I imagine if him playing a year at no money on top of the legal fees, it's gonna be over.
Ayuk reminds me of Pat Beverly, where he gives you his opinion for no reason and then acts like people care, always wants attention, but ends up eventually screwing themselves over.
Well, you know who that reminds me of a little bit is Le'Veon Bell. Is that not a
good comparison?
Very good.
mean, he ruined his career. He was a great running back, one of the best I've ever seen for a couple of years. But then he sat out, and then he went to the Jets, and he just wasn't the same.
It's so crazy he was on the Jets.
Yeah, David, what do you think maybe happens here? Like Connor's thought here, like hypothetically, somehow the Commanders get Ayuk. Maybe, in fact, that the Niners file some kind of like injunction or like a tampering violation maybe goes down. David, what do you think maybe comes out of this whole thing if something does come out of it?
One thing I wonder about Ayuk is there's nobody to see if anybody in his corner, family.
Yes.
There's nobody. There's nobody there going like, this guy needs help. Or somebody.
It's almost like everyone's staying away from him, which I think is
he's toxic.
Feels wrong.
He is incredibly toxic. Like I said, talented guy, had a major injury, but like even if you sign him for the minimum, I don't know what the salary is for the bare minimum for the NFL. Like, who wants to touch the guy? Because you don't know if he'll go off on your team. I mean, any of them. I don't know what's going to happen. So that's the thing, because it's like he's basically just his, just nobody's going to touch him.
And to add to it, he's not like, I'm not going to knock Brandon Ayuk here, but he's, let's face it, he's not a legendary wide receiver. Like, you need this guy. He's good. He's upper echelon good, but to be worth a headache on top of all this, no, not a chance. He's not Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't rank him better than J-Mo Williams. He's not Chase. What? Jamar Chase. Yeah, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson. Nico Collins, the list could go on. I could literally probably hit 15 wide receivers before I name CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. Like, we can keep going.
He had two really solid years with the Niners before he got hurt last year, or in 24. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know what you do with him. I mean,
wasn't his last memorable play? Maybe I'm wrong about this. It was the catch he made deflection off of the Lions. Was it? I think
you would say the Lions with Connor here.
I honestly, I was gonna let this shit go until after the show, but what the fuck, man?
Oh no, listen, like I wasn't even doing it towards you. I'm just thinking like the actual last memorable thing he was actually good at.
No, I get it. I too. The last good thing I remember is when the Lions were good. So
No, I want you guys to do well. I do.
By the way, guys, veteran minimum for the CBA for the upcoming year for a veteran, $1,005,000.
Okay. But he's never had 10 touchdowns in a season. It's just, I think you said, man, buyer beware when it comes to Brandon Ayuk. That's all I got.
He's really making it. He's really making them beware.
Hey, yeah. David, there's another receiver. So obviously his initials are BA. You just switch those initials around. There's another receiver, if you remember, AB, that had a lot of similar stuff too.
Oh, this
So-
guy right here.
Yeah, he's on his way. I mean, he's on his way.
You know, a guy that decides to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer and start doing jumping jacks at MetLife. Funny enough.
I mean, I was going to say, I don't think he's peaked to get to top tier AB shape till he rips off his uniform and starts, doing calisthenics in the end zone on his way to the locker room at halftime.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Good heavens. With that, guys, we'll close down shop for the evening. Great show. This one actually kind of flew by here. But before we go, guys, as we put the chairs on top of the tables and count the register for the Sunday night, take a moment, though, to look at the sheer weight of what we just witnessed over the last 2 hours here inside the lounge. Tonight was a pure master class in what happens when the pressure gets turned all the way up. Today, we watched Spain ascend to the top of the world for soccer, systematically dismantling Argentina to take the global crown. We also saw the NBA grind to a halt because the entire league is waiting on the decisions of one man, while that same man sent the city of Philadelphia into absolute hysteria with 3 words of trust the process. We also watched Bryson DeChambeau completely beat himself on the grass at the Open, letting a 2-stroke penalty turn into a total psychological meltdown, while Connor Bedard secured his long-term throne in Chicago. And right now, we're also watching an active labor force of the NFL draw a massive line in the sand, demanding that billionaire owners prioritize their literal bones and ligaments over stadium maintenance budgets. But when the glasses are empty on a Sunday night and the neon signs are humming in the dark, what's left is not the corporate red tape or the luxury tax aprons, but about the passion of the game and the fact that no matter how messy the business may get, millions of us are still going to wake up tomorrow morning, check the box scores, argue about the turf, and care again. Because we always care about these stories because they belong to us just as much as they belong to them. And no matter how the landscape may shift, you've always got a seat right here at the bar every Sunday. A huge thanks to Nick DiMartino for holding it down alongside myself, and also to David Waitman, Zan Bando, and Ben Cruz for handling the heavy lifting, as well with Connor Rowland joining us as well today. And to those in the live chat, we keep keeping the taps flowing. We thank you again for doing so. Nick, any final thoughts that you'd like to pass along, and also where can people catch you on the program lineup this week?
You can catch me on Thursday at noon on Moving the Goalposts with Johnny Montalbano.
All right, so we got that.
Then about a month, and then when college football starts, you can catch me on Unnecessary Wagers, and you can catch me on FP5, Forever Power 5.
All across the board there with that. Zan Bando, thanks for joining us, my man. More importantly, where can people find you this week across the entire landscape of ETB?
Yes, you'll see me on ETBS. It's episode 327. That'll be on Tuesday. But before we even get to Tuesday, stay tuned for a special Zan Zinger Part 2. That'll be tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Figured we go back to the Monday well once again. I figured it worked well last week and it happened to work out well scheduling-wise. And then you will see me for episode 99 of Bando's Breakdowns, as you guys, I'm sure, are very much looking forward to. That'll be on Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And then we will be back to a regular schedule with Zan Zinger Part 2 this upcoming Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So a lot going on that doesn't also include Tough Enough and probably a couple other things that I might be forgetting that may pop up. But besides that, that's where you can find me. You'll find me a minimum of 3 times this week, maybe more. But I'll be scattered about pretty much everywhere over the next several days. So stay tuned. Subscribe. Follow me. Subscribe to the channel and keep it locked in. So
David Waitman, thanks for being here, my man. And where can people find you this week? I'm sure we'll be for hitting from the cycle to talk all things baseball as the trade deadline is coming up in about 2 weeks' time.
Yes, me, Ben, Ryan Toohey, Nate Miller. Thursday night, we'll be talking, hitting for the cycle. We'll be talking a lot of baseball, a lot of trade talk, a lot of me bitching about the Phillies can't find a number 5 starter. Have not won since May 18th, losing 2-3 to the Mets, and going to get their asses kicked probably the Dodgers and Yankees. So.
Oh, great. Ben, I know you got double duty on Thursday and Friday this week. Where else can people find you this week on ETB?
Yep. Hosting HFTC once again, 8:30 on Thursday, like David mentioned. Got a lot going on. And then obviously I come back for Gridiron Gurus on Friday. I did miss last week because I was at a baseball game where my team is on a 13-game winning streak, thankfully. Hopefully it keeps going. We'll see what happens. But yes.
And we know damn well that we will find Connor Rowland on Friday, giving us more unnecessary wagers for the upcoming week ahead, which now no Connor, no World Cup. Now I'm kind of sad that there's no World Cup bets now, sadly.
Yeah. No, it's an unfortunate end, but we'll be back next year. I'm ready.
Yeah.
We'll be ready for the Women's World Cup next year. You folks have sadly been stuck with me for 3 shows today. World Cup preview, post show, and now the lounge. You're stuck with me again Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. Again, we have another episode of the Content Dungeon coming your way on Monday, as Nick Morrison and I will lock ourselves into the dungeon to talk all things about the network, and we'll actually lay out the future as well for Empty the Pitch, as we kind of have already, and also talk more about what is coming for the college and NFL season. You'll catch me again on Tuesday for Callan's Cranium, and of course on Wednesday for Presser to talk all things involving sports media and sports business. With that, though, folks in mind, until next Sunday, the lounge is officially closed. Until then, again, for Nick DiMartino, Zan Bando, David Waitman, Ben Cruz, Connor Rowland, and the entire cast and crew here from the ETB Network, we thank you all again for joining us here on this beautiful Sunday. And thank you to the entire 230 people that watched our show from start to finish here today. We appreciate you all. We'll catch you all again back here next Sunday, same time, same channel, same place. Right back here inside the Empty the Bench Network across YouTube and Twitter. More importantly, again, folks, please go like and subscribe to us today over at youtube.com/ETB Network and get us to the 3,000 and the 4,000 watch hour goal, folks. Until next Sunday, have a great week. Bye-bye.